Over the last 50 episodes of this podcast, most of our stories have in some way or other mentioned the police. All over the world, police officers enforce the law to ensure safety and protection of citizens and to prevent crime and civil disorder. Yep, there's certainly corrupt police officers out there, but today we're looking at stories where once again the police came to the rescue. But mainly because a ridiculous number of smooth criminals literally made the cops' jobs very, very easy. I'm Tori Hodgman, and welcome to the Smooth Criminal Copcast. Our first story is from 2013 and the English town of Abington, where a career criminal by the name of Darren Kimpton, aged 49, fucked up royally when committing a burglary. Kimpton had been scoping houses in the neighbourhood to burgle when he finally found what he thought was the perfect house. Breaking into the house via a broken pane of glass in a door, imagine his surprise when he found himself in a room that was literally full of police officers. The cops were delighted because Kimpton had a prior criminal history of 36 burglary charges. So when Kimpton pretty much landed in their laps, there was much rejoicing. Meanwhile, in Maryland in the USA, Joseph McInnes III, aged 21, and Tyree McCoy, aged 22, decided to commit an armed robbery at a pub in the town of Woodlawn. The armed men walked into the takeout area of Monaghan's pub, pointing their guns at an employee and demanding all the cash from the till. The smart employee went to the end of the counter, looked into the adjoining dining room, and mouthed the word help at people who were dining in the bar. And it turns out that the people dining in the bar were police officers attending a retirement party for Sergeant David Neal. As a result, there were dozens of Baltimore County police officers at the pub. They raced into the takeout area and the two armed robbers attempted to flee on foot, but were apprehended a short time later by the cops. The pair were charged with armed robbery and possession of unlicensed guns. Way to go, boys. And we're still in Maryland for our next story, the tale of Timothy Randall Clark. Again, a story of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, but this time it was at a Walmart store. Clark was cruising around the Walmart and had already shoplifted a couple of items, but unbeknownst to him, at the same time he was stealing things, the local police were holding their Shop with a Cop charity event inside the Walmart. With over 50 police officers in the store, it didn't take long for Clark to be arrested. He was charged with stealing $635.04 worth of PlayStation and Xbox games, 2 controllers and other gaming accessories. But in another mind-boggling story where a criminal literally placed himself in the lap of the cops, in Edinburgh in Scotland, Linton Fraser, aged 38, ended up being sentenced to 3 months jail after he broke into a police station. Once inside the station, he went to the kitchen and helped himself to some pasta, Weet-Bix and milk. Although the station was closed for the night, the break-in triggered a silent alarm, and minutes later the cops were there to arrest the hungry burglar. And even easier, they just walked him straight over to the holding cell in the station and locked him up for the night. And a man in El Paso, Texas also made it easy to be arrested by the cops after he stole a safe from a church. Now, safes are notoriously heavy and not easy to steal, especially on foot, so this smooth criminal wasn't the brightest spark to even attempt this. But it gets worse. He dragged the safe away from the church to 2 houses over, where he tried to break open the safe to steal the contents. The resident of the house was alerted to loud banging noises out on his lawn, so he went to investigate, walked up to the crim, and arrested him. Not a great idea to try and complete a crime on the front lawn of a cop. Now to some stories involving cop cars. Now look, we all do stupid things when we're drunk, but in 2012, Jesse James Thomas, age 55, really did go above and beyond to earn the tag of a very dumb criminal. In Sacramento, California, one balmy night, Thomas had been on the piss, and from all accounts he'd been having a great time going from bar to bar wearing a colourful sombrero. But like all good nights on the town, Thomas clearly had gone one drink over the having a good time limit and entered the I'm about to be a total dickhead zone. Still wearing the sombrero, Thomas jumped onto the bonnet, also known as a hood in some parts of the world, of a police patrol car, and even worse, a cop was sitting inside it at the time. In addition to the sombrero, Thomas was also wearing one boxing glove, and standing proudly on the cop car, he started screaming out his own name repeatedly before leaping off the car and fleeing into the night. But because he'd yelled out his own name, the cops had absolutely no trouble tracking him down, and he was arrested on suspicion of public drunkenness and spent a night in the clink, presumably to sleep it off. Now over to Florida. Where another drunk dude by the name of Aaron Rodriguez, despite having 2 mobile phones on him and $20 in his pocket, for some reason, instead of just calling a cab or an Uber to get home, decided to try and steal a cop car that had a key in the ignition and the engine running. But what the car also had, which he hadn't noticed, was a slightly confused and definitely amused cop sitting in the driver's seat. After several minutes of trying to smash the window, Rodriguez finally noticed the cop and fled and hid behind the car directly in front of the cop car. So the cop simply hopped out of his car, walked to the front of the next vehicle and arrested Rodriguez, and finally gave him the ride he wanted. But it wasn't home, it was straight to the station where he was processed. And still in Florida. Another twit tried to break into a cop car, which in his defence was an unmarked sheriff's office car, but unfortunately for this guy, there was a cop sitting inside. The cops were out following reports that a guy in the area had stolen a bottle of water and punched a convenience store worker in the face. Detective Robert D. Giacomo was highly amused when he was sitting in the car with the engine idling while his colleagues were in the store taking a statement, when the passenger door suddenly opened and some random dude jumped in. The random dude was Micah Kalmoska, the water-stealing thug, and he ordered the detective to get out of the car because he was stealing it. The detective was still in hysterics as he arrested Kalmoska and took him off to jail. And some other cops who were also highly amused by some smooth criminals were driving down a road when 3 hitchhikers flagged them over. The hitchhikers were in fact inmates who'd escaped a nearby prison 2 days earlier, and they were still in their correctional outfits. The undercover cop pulled over, told them to jump in, and then drove them right back to the prison from whence they came. Also, if you're about to be a dick, probably best to check your surroundings before you're a dick. That advice might have helped a dickhead at a coffee shop who cut in front of 2 people in a queue at the counter and threw a drink at the girl behind the counter asking for all of the money in the till. But the 2 people he cut in front of were cops, in full uniform. So guess what they did? They arrested and handcuffed the idiot. The same advice may have also been good for the thief in Pennsylvania who decided to steal the wallet of a retired police officer at a police convention with 300 cops present. Or the smooth criminal in Florida. Florida, who was selling drugs by calling his regular clients, but on this occasion he dialed the wrong number and the person he called by mistake was a cop who he then tried to sell drugs to. The clever cop played along and arranged to meet the dealer in what was literally a sting that landed in his lap. The location of where you choose to commit crimes or do anything illegal is also worth considering before doing bad things. Ilias Naba and Thoni Sengsulia of New Hampshire were busted for numerous drug charges after they were spotted trying to shoot up heroin while parked outside the Lawrence police station in Massachusetts. And 4 dudes in New Jersey back in 2012 decided to smoke pot in a police parking lot, so they were also very easy to arrest. This story from California is slightly different, but equally as stupid. If you're on your way to buy some drugs and can't find the address, if you're going to ask the cop for directions, probably make sure you don't have any incriminating evidence on you or do anything that looks suspicious. But Chris Meng Lee, aged 40, spotted a parked cop car, pulled in front of it and blocked a fire hydrant, which is illegal, and then walked up to the car and asked for directions to a mobile home park that was well known by the cops for dodgy drug dealings. The cops decided to search Lee's car, where they found half a pound of marijuana and a loaded gun. And, to add insult to injury, Lee also didn't have a valid driver's license. You fucking idiot. And guys, don't feel bad. Women do equally dumb things all the time as well. Like the woman from Middletown in Connecticut, who went to a house to illegally buy some prescription drugs. But after the deal, Jessica Bouton, aged 27, discovered she hadn't been given the drugs she paid $160 for. So what did she do? Well, she called the cops to complain. So the cops arranged to go to her house to take a statement, and upon arrival, they arrested her. This smooth criminal was charged with illegally obtaining drugs, possession of drug paraphernalia, and criminal possession of narcotics. Way to go. Now, all of the criminals in this episode have been very, very smooth. But in this last tale of a trio of blundering idiots, one member of the threesome of house burglars, Aaron Burrell, made one of the biggest fuck-ups imaginable. Following the burglary, he was bragging to some friends about the successful heist, but at the same time he also butt-dialed 911, allowing a police officer to record the entire confession and also trace his number. In addition, Burrell mentioned the address of the house they'd just robbed. Naturally, the police had no problems identifying him and his buddies. Nice one, dude. But as an even funnier postscript to this story, while Burrell was bragging to his mates and the cops were listening in, he and his friends cranked up a song to celebrate his escaping the law. Noted in the police report with much hilarity is the note, Bon Jovi's Wanted Dead or Alive playing in the background. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of Smooth Criminal. Please rate and review and share with your friends. Also, if you've got an idea of a theme for a future show, please join our Facebook group, pop a note in your review on your chosen podcast platform, or email us at smoothcriminalchannel@gmail.com. So until next week, remember, don't get hit by, don't get struck by a smooth criminal.